A planned inland waterway paddle from close to Lake Michigan all the way out to Lake Huron, going through some locks, rivers, and some large lakes. Coming up next, stay tuned. Here we see a overview of our entire paddle for 3 days. We start at the extreme west end in Conley, working our way through the various waterways, and we end up in Burt Lake for day 1, then we end up at Mullet Lake for day 2, and then just short of Lake Huron for day 3 at the mouth of the Cheboygan River. Let's take a closer look at day 1. Day 1, we'll start at Conway. We're going to make our way through Crooked Lake and Crooked River, and there's a lock system there to go through. We're going to stay along the southwest bank, and then we'll end up at Burt Lake State Park, where we'll sleep overnight. Let's take a closer look at Crooked Lake, Crooked River, and the lock system. Starting at Conway on the west side of the lake, we're going to go through Crooked Lake, which looks beautiful, and eventually work our way through the lake and into the river, the Crooked River. And as we get into the Crooked River, we are going to have to go through a lock system. It's about, I think it's $10. There's also annual passes. Make that adjustment in water depth. And then we're going to go from the lock system through the rest of the Crooked River. Hope to see some nice scenery like this, and we're going to empty out into Burt Lake. And as we traverse Burt Lake, we're going to eventually end up at Burt Lake State Park, and that's where we're going to stop for the evening. We'll pitch a tent, sleep in our vehicles, set up a hammock, whatever we end up doing at the campsite, and enjoy the park and the park facilities and have a nice evening. Our camp is right along the beach, so we'll be able to listen to the water, and that'll be nice to be there. Day 2, we're going to go from Burt Lake State Park through the Indian River and across Mullet Lake the long way, and eventually make our way to Aloha State Park. Taking a closer look at Indian River, we're going to traverse the river under I-75, both bridges. Here we are looking southwest. You see Burt Lake up in the upper right corner. We're seeing the entire community of Indian River. And this should be an interesting paddle, going under all the various bridges and seeing what's along Indian River. Like Burt Lake, Mullet Lake is also a very large body of water, and we're going to have to go across the entire south to north line. But we do end up stopping about 2/3 of the way at the state campground, so we'll be able to break that up into 2 days. Night number 2 will be spent at this campground here at Aloha State Campground. Looks like a nice facility, and we have a campsite along the beach once again, so we'll be able to hear the water and enjoy that. I do have an interesting story about Mullet Lake. The nickname Kemosabe, Tonto called the Lone Ranger, originally came from Michigan. Regarding the Lone Ranger, a name that shouldn't be ignored is Jim Jewell. Jewell's name did not appear in the closing credits of the TV show, but he was an integral part. Without him, there would be no theme music and no Kemosabe. Jewell picked the William Tell Overture for the music because it was public domain and no copyright fee was needed. The term Kemosabe, that Tonto called the Lone Ranger, came from Mullet Lake up near Cheboygan. Jewell's father-in-law ran a boys' camp on Mullet Lake named Camp Kemosabe. Following the success of the Lone Ranger, the camp changed its name in the mid-1930s to the Lone Ranger Camp until 1941. This house is what occupies the property today, and it happens to be called the Lone Ranger House. For day 3, we're going to start from the Aloha State Campground, work our way up through the Cheboygan River, and go along there, and just shy of 23 there will be a lock to go through, and we'll make that adjustment in the water height This is our day 3 planning map that we're using. A nice picture of the Cheboygan River here, and a diagram of the lock and the spillway area. Some photographs of the actual lock system itself, and we see quite a picture of the spillway area here. And then we eventually work our way past the lock system more into the heart of Cheboygan. We see this walkway coming up, and we're getting a little closer to it here. And now we will be approaching the mouth of the river, and that's Lake Huron. And to the left there is the marina that we'll be exiting. We plan on doing this inland water paddle in May, so we'll be posting the video up probably sometime in June. So thank you for stopping by the channel, checking this video out. Until next week, take care.